Well, good afternoon and welcome to Business Basics. My name is Lee Iben. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer here at Action Coach Campus. And every once in a while, usually weekly, I get an opportunity to visit with local celebrities. And my local celebrity today is Missie Forbes with the 4C's. Hi, Missie. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, so Missie, childcare is the topic today, something that is near and dear to your heart and has been ever since you were a kid, right?
Yep, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us the backstory. First of all, tell us about 4C's, then tell us how you got into it, if you would.
Sure. So 4C's actually started in 1972, 50 years ago. A collective group of concerned Iowa City residents wanted to solve the problem that was accessing affordable quality childcare in our community.
Mhm.
And it turns out that we're still trying to answer those questions and solve those problems today. So yeah, we haven't moved the needle very far, but we continue to work. So in 2019, I was hired as the executive director at 4C's.
Okay.
I don't have a formal background in early childhood education, but obviously did a ton of babysitting and worked in a childcare center when I was young.
So what did you do prior to coming on board with 4C's?
I was in nonprofit leadership, nonprofit work. So
Yes.
I was a development director, fundraising, marketing, public relations, things like that.
Very good.
Kind of where my skill set lies.
Yeah, perfect fit then for 4C's, it sounds like. And so tell me about some of the daily work that happens at 4C's.
So there's a lot of administrative stuff that I do. We are the Johnson County sponsor of the federal food program. So we have 2 employees that are dedicated to that program. And that is essentially childcare providers that provide nutritious snacks and meals get a reimbursement from the federal government. So we facilitate the logistics of that. We also have a program called Starting Strong, where we work with low-income individuals who are childcare providers, just ensuring that there's quality in their program. If you're a part of that program, we ask that you take care of at least 50% of the kids that are on the childcare assistance, which is state aid for childcare. So low-income children in low-income areas are still getting that quality education. We do a lot of networking for childcare providers too. It can be a very isolating industry to work in. You're the only grown-up amongst bunches of kids. So, ensuring that there are opportunities to network with peers is important work that we do. We have an educational component of that we provide education and training to childcare providers in order for them to keep their licensing and their registration up to date with the Department of Human Services. And then we also run a childcare center, Home Ties. It is located in the First Mennonite Church over on the west side of Iowa City. And while it is a regular old childcare center, we do reserve some spots for families that are experiencing crisis and homelessness. So we work closely with families who are at the homeless shelters in town, ensuring that those children receive some free care while their parents are accessing work, finding jobs, permanent housing, that sort of thing. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire, but it's all about just ensuring that we've got quality and affordability and accessibility in childcare in Johnson County.
It has to be one of the biggest concerns. You're a mom, I'm a dad. And when you're in that area and you realize, okay, I got to go back to work, finding childcare is probably the thing that we worry about the most. And I don't really care what income level you're at. And I mean, like you said, for homeless families on the lower socioeconomic scale, all the way up the spectrum, it is a concern for everybody.
Yep, you are not wrong. And the unfortunate thing is that when you are operating at that lower income level, you really sometimes it's about access instead of quality. And one of the things that drives me is that I just don't think it's fair for poor people to not have the same access that mainstream that we all do. And so I just don't, I think that there's a fair, I have an issue with things not being fair. And so that's one of the things that drives me in my role, is that I believe that every child in Johnson County, they have a right to the same level of education and care that anyone has. So
Absolutely. And, you know, that was kind of our philosophy when we had our pediatric dental office, is that we saw a lot of Medicaid kids. And, you know, Dr. Polly, her philosophy was it's not their fault that they were born into this situation. And I'm not placing blame on parents either. I mean, sometimes things are just the way they are. And, but why should the children suffer because of that? Right. And that's difficult. And I'm so glad that you're in this space. So what is it that gets you up every morning? What drives your train to do this, other than the fact of fairness, which is huge?
I feel like we can solve it. I think it's a simple solution if we would just be able to operate. Like if we could, you know, I believe there is a simple solution to this. I believe that quality and affordability is not, you know, and we talk about workforce. I think about workforce a lot too. You know, we don't pay well enough. Well, we need to start. We need to figure out how we can pay those workers who are doing so much work. I mean, it's high demand, you know, I mean, it's a very demanding job. They need to be paid for what they're doing.
Yes.
Brain growth happens exponentially in the 0 to 5,
Yes.
in that short amount of time. And we're paying people maybe $10 an hour to shape those minds. You know, you can go to any fast food restaurant within a stone's throw of where either of us are and make at least $5 more an hour than that.
Right.
That's not okay.
No.
I think elevating the industry too. When a couple wants to go out and have dinner, you hire someone to play with your kids and make sure that, you know, nobody goes to the hospital. That's different
Right.
that's different than someone that you entrust your child to 5 days a week while you're at work. They are shaping the minds of those children. That is a very different thing.
Yes.
And I think that elevating the profession is another thing that gets me up every morning and drives me, because these are, I don't want to say they're simple solutions. That's not what I mean, but these are things that can be solved and that need to be solved. It's time to change the narrative on that.
I agree. And I find it interesting that you're spot on with child care providers, daycare providers, and even elementary teachers, that those are some of the lowest paid professions out there. And you're so right. I mean, we are shaping the minds and helping the development of our future generations. And much, you know, we can say what we want about kids today, right? But honestly, it's our actions that drove that. And we as a population, right, we all have to take responsibility for that generation next, and be aware of, you know, these things didn't happen by accident. And so what is it going to take for us to turn this around? And I'm so glad you're in that space that you're in, and being a champion for that. Tell me what others can do to get involved to help you.
I think that one of the most important things is just finding out more about what the crisis is and where it stems from, and how we can all be advocates, not only for children, but also for the people that are working in this field. You want nothing more as a working parent for the person that you're entrusting your child to have those same values and skills to be able to tackle whatever comes along that day. You know, we do that through elevating the profession. We do that through holding that position in high regard. And I think that really the most important thing is if people could do the research to find out more about the childcare crisis and in what ways does it make the most sense to advocate. Businesses, I think that there for a long time has been a disconnect between how childcare and lack thereof affects the business community. So if you're a business owner, find out, are your employees facing barriers to being able to go to work? Are you not able to retain your workforce because of childcare issues? Finding that out, and then how can you help? Is it offering more flexibility in scheduling? Is it offering some sort of stipend or flex account so that your employees can pay for childcare? Or do you have the capacity to set up childcare in your business so that you can retain your employees and offer that as a benefit? Finding out how you can fit within the conversation.
And so many conversations need to take place. We just have to start. We've got to start focusing on the real needs and have these conversations at a granular level.
Yep.
Absolutely do. Well, Missy, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm gonna share this also, with the folks that are on my list. And I really appreciate it. Any parting thoughts? I mean, there are people that want to venture probably into this nonprofit space. Give me some recommendations. What are the things they need to be prepared for if that's their calling like yours?
I think that assumptions can be tricky. I assume a lot, and I don't know a lot when I when I fall back on my assumptions. I think having a heart for the work, but also recognizing that my story doesn't, or someone else's story doesn't make, how do I want to say this? Because I had a really good talking point. I think that everyone's story matters. And just because I have a different perspective, I think just being able to appreciate everyone's perspective, I guess, is what I'd like to say about that.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I have found out that, when we just keep asking the question why, I mean, really take on the attitude of a 2 or 3 year old, right?
Yep.
Why is the sky blue? But then just keep asking why. I mean, I think in the conversations that we have about childcare, we ask, well, why is this not possible? And then if they give you an answer, whomever they might be, we just keep saying, well, why not? And well, because, and the only way we're going to break down these barriers is get to the nitty gritty of it and really get to the bottom and say, well, but why not? But why not? Right? These issues are solvable. I'm with you. They are solvable. The problem is that those in the decision-making process don't want to continue the conversation to find the answer. They're too easily settled for roadblocks and say, well, because this, they live in a below the point space where it's blame, excuses, and denial. And it's too easy to say, well, because this is happening. And you're in the position like, well, it's not going to happen here. We're going to find a solution. And I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so my special guest today has been Missie Forbes with 4C's Childcare here in Iowa City. Missie, how do they get a hold of you? If someone wants to help out, how's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, they can email me at Missie, MISSIE, at iowa4cs.com.
Perfect. Missie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lee.